From the earliest years of Alex's life, it was clear that his path through education would not be smooth. While other children seemed to glide effortlessly from one skill to another, Alex struggled with tasks that others performed with ease. Reading was a labyrinth of letters that refused to stay in order, numbers seemed to jump unpredictably, and instructions often felt like riddles written in a foreign language. Teachers and parents initially assumed he was just slow to develop, a late bloomer who would catch up in time. But as the years passed, it became evident that his struggles were more than a passing phase. They were rooted in a learning disability that required understanding, patience, and a different approach to education. Despite these obstacles, Alex's curiosity about the world remained vibrant. He was fascinated by stories, by the way characters moved through adventures and overcame their own challenges. He loved drawing, imagining entire universes where logic and rules could bend in ways that made sense only to him. Music resonated deeply within him, his melodies spoke what words often could not. But the school system was not designed to nurture these kinds of intelligences. It was structured for uniformity, for students who could conform to a single method of learning. Alex felt increasingly alienated. Each assignment became a mountain, each test a battlefield, and each failure a weight pressing down on his self-esteem. In those early years, Alex often questioned his own worth. Why couldn't he read as quickly as others? Why did numbers elude him? Why did instructions confuse him so? His parents tried to offer encouragement, but their reassurances sometimes felt hollow against the daily reminders of his struggles. Classmates, unaware of the depth of his challenges, sometimes teased him for being slow or clumsy, which only deepened his sense of isolation. There were moments when Alex wondered if he would ever find his place in the world of learning, or if he was doomed to remain on the sidelines, forever frustrated and misunderstood. Everything began to change when he met Mrs. Carter, a teacher with decades of experience in special education. She immediately saw that Alex was not lacking in intelligence, but that his brain simply processed information differently. She explained to his parents and to Alex that learning disabilities did not indicate a lack of ability, but rather a need for alternative approaches. This revelation was both comforting and daunting. It meant that Alex could succeed, but it also meant that the path forward would require persistence, creativity, and adaptation. Mrs. Carter introduced Alex to multisensory learning techniques. Letters could be traced with fingers in sand or clay, math problems could be solved with physical objects, stories could be acted out or recorded to listen to multiple times. For the first time, Alex began to feel that learning might not always be a battlefield, it could also be an adventure. The first attempts were humbling. Alex struggled to coordinate the physical movements with the mental processing, and even simple exercises took longer than he expected. Frustration often boiled over into tears, and there were days when he would slam his books shut in defeat. But Mrs. Carter was patient, always reminding him that persistence mattered more than immediate success. Slowly, the small victories began to accumulate. A word read correctly after repeated attempts felt like a triumph, a math problem solved independently became a badge of honor. Each achievement, no matter how small, strengthened Alex's confidence and began to transform his relationship with learning itself. As Alex progressed into middle school, the challenges he faced became more complex. The work increased in volume and difficulty, and the expectations placed upon him began to feel heavier with each passing day. Despite the strategies he had learned with Mrs. Carter, there were moments when he still felt lost, as though the tools he had developed were not enough to navigate the increasingly structured academic environment. Yet, something had changed within him. Where before he had been filled with fear and hesitation, he now felt a spark of determination. He knew that the path ahead would not be easy, but for the first time, he also knew that he had the ability to climb that path, one careful step at a time. Alex's self-confidence was fragile, however, and not every day was a victory. On some days, he would sit in class, watching other students complete their work effortlessly, feeling as though he were watching a different world from behind a glass wall. Frustration and shame would creep in, and he sometimes questioned whether all his effort was worth it. Yet, with every setback came the support of those who believed in him. Mrs. Carter encouraged him to view mistakes not as failures but as opportunities to learn. His parents, too, celebrated his progress, even when it seemed minor to the outside world. Slowly, Alex began to internalize the idea that effort, persistence, and strategy mattered far more than speed or conformity. He was learning not just academic content, but a fundamental truth that resilience could become a form of strength, even in the face of obstacles that seemed insurmountable. One of the most transformative experiences during this time was Alex's discovery of self-advocacy. Previously, he had been hesitant to speak up when he needed help, fearing that asking for accommodations would make him appear weak or incapable. But through careful guidance from Mrs. Carter, he began to communicate his needs clearly and confidently. He explained to his teachers which methods helped him learn best and asked for small adjustments when necessary. These steps, simple as they might have seemed, marked a profound turning point. Alex was no longer a passive recipient of education, he was an active participant in shaping his own learning experience. This newfound agency empowered him in ways that went far beyond the classroom. Social dynamics also played a significant role in Alex's journey. While some classmates remained oblivious to the challenges he faced, others began to notice his determination and creativity. He discovered that he could connect with peers who also struggled or who simply appreciated his perspective and effort. Alex began forming friendships based on mutual respect, shared interests, and understanding rather than comparison or competition. These relationships reinforced his confidence and provided a network of support that helped him navigate both academic and personal challenges. Over time, he realized that learning disabilities did not define his social worth or his potential, they were simply one aspect of his multifaceted identity. By the time Alex reached high school, the academic environment had grown even more demanding. Courses required more independent thinking, critical analysis, and extensive writing. The stakes felt higher, and the pressure could have been overwhelming. Yet, Alex had developed a toolkit of strategies and habits that allowed him to thrive. He used audiobooks to supplement reading, color-coded notes to organize information, and regular practice routines to reinforce understanding. These methods, combined with the discipline and persistence he had cultivated over years of effort, enabled him to approach assignments with a level of confidence he had never known in his earlier years. Alex also began to explore leadership opportunities. Despite his earlier struggles, he realized that he had unique insights into learning, empathy, and problem-solving that could benefit others. He volunteered as a peer tutor, helping classmates who faced their own challenges. His approach was patient and personalized, informed by his personal experience of overcoming difficulties. Students responded positively, and Alex discovered the joy of guiding others. Helping others learn became not only a way to reinforce his own understanding, but also a powerful affirmation of his abilities and value. High school was also a time of personal growth. Alex's self-awareness deepened as he reflected on his journey. He recognized that his challenges had forced him to develop resilience, creativity, and empathy, qualities that many students took for granted. While the academic environment had tested him repeatedly, it had also shaped him into someone capable of facing adversity with composure and determination. Each success, no matter how small, felt like proof that he could overcome even the most formidable obstacles. And as he prepared for graduation, Alex felt a profound sense of accomplishment, not just for what he had learned academically, but for the person he had become through his struggles. As Alex approached the final years of high school, the pressure to prepare for college became a reality he could no longer postpone. Standardized tests, college applications, and the looming question of what he wanted to pursue in life created both excitement and anxiety. For years, these processes had seemed nearly impossible for him, given his learning challenges, but Alex now faced them armed with resilience, strategies, and a determination he had painstakingly cultivated over time. The young boy who had once struggled to read a single page now found himself meticulously preparing essays, researching universities, and crafting applications that would highlight not only his achievements but the journey that had shaped him. It was not an easy road. College entrance exams were daunting, filled with timed sections and rigid formats that tested abilities in ways Alex had long found difficult. He approached each practice test methodically, breaking down each section into manageable tasks, using strategies tailored to his strengths. He relied on audiobooks, digital tools, and repeated practice to reinforce concepts that previously seemed unattainable. Yet, beyond the practical tools, it was his mindset that carried him through. Alex had learned to view challenges not as insurmountable obstacles, but as opportunities to grow, refine his strategies, and demonstrate his persistence. Even when results fell short of expectations, he did not despair. Each setback was reframed as a lesson, a chance to refine his approach, and a reminder that success was built on cumulative effort rather than instant perfection. In the process of preparing for college, Alex also discovered the power of storytelling, his own story, in particular. He realized that the experiences of overcoming learning disabilities were not just personal trials, but powerful narratives capable of inspiring others. He began sharing his journey with teachers, peers, and counselors, explaining the techniques, the failures, and the small victories that had defined his academic life. Each conversation reinforced his sense of purpose and gave him a newfound clarity about the impact he could have on others. It was no longer just about personal achievement, it was about creating a ripple effect, helping others who struggled silently to find their own paths. Acceptance letters began to arrive, each one a testament to years of effort, patience, and perseverance. When Alex finally held his college acceptance letter in his hands, he felt a mixture of pride and reflection. The journey that had started with frustration and doubt had now led him to an opportunity that many students dream of. College was a new challenge, yes, but one he was ready to embrace with the skills, discipline, and confidence he had cultivated over years of deliberate effort. He understood that learning disabilities did not define his limits, they simply shaped the way he approached the world and gave him unique strengths that others might not possess. In college, Alex's journey continued, but it took on new dimensions. Academic challenges were now coupled with social adaptation, independence, and the pressures of higher-level studies. Courses were more rigorous, assignments more complex, and expectations higher than ever. Yet, Alex approached each day with a blend of strategy and perseverance that had become second nature. He continued to leverage the techniques that had served him so well, structured routines, personalized study methods, and technological tools that allowed him to overcome reading or processing difficulties. But more importantly, he had developed an internal resilience that no test or challenge could shake. He was no longer merely navigating obstacles, he was thriving despite them. Alex's personal growth was mirrored by his increasing involvement in advocacy and mentorship. He joined support groups for students with learning disabilities, offering guidance, encouragement, and practical strategies to those navigating similar challenges. His story became a beacon for younger students, a living example of how dedication, creativity, and perseverance could transform apparent limitations into sources of strength. He discovered that teaching and mentoring others was not only deeply fulfilling, but also reinforced his own skills, confidence, and sense of purpose. By his final year of college, Alex had accomplished more than he had ever imagined possible. Academically, he excelled, proving not only that learning disabilities could be overcome, but that they could coexist with extraordinary achievement. He had cultivated deep friendships, developed leadership skills, and honed a sense of empathy that set him apart. His journey had imbued him with a profound understanding of resilience, patience, and self-belief. He had faced the frustration of repeated failure, the discouragement of misunderstanding, and the isolation of feeling different, yet he had emerged stronger, wiser, and capable of inspiring others. Graduation day was a culmination of more than just academic effort, it was the celebration of a lifelong journey. As Alex walked across the stage, receiving his diploma, he reflected on the countless moments of struggle, doubt, and perseverance that had led him there. Each tear shed over a frustrating homework assignment, each night spent wrestling with concepts that refused to make sense, each moment of fear about whether he would ever succeed, these were all integral threads in the fabric of his triumph. His story was not simply one of educational achievement, it was a testament to the human capacity for growth, adaptation, and determination in the face of challenges that might have seemed insurmountable to others. After college, Alex faced a new frontier, the world beyond academia. The transition from a structured educational environment to the unpredictability of adult life and professional responsibilities presented challenges of a different nature. Yet, if his past journey had taught him anything, it was that challenges were not barriers, but invitations to adapt and grow. He approached this stage of life with the same diligence and determination that had carried him through years of learning struggles. Every application, every interview, and every professional interaction became an opportunity to demonstrate not only his skills but also his resilience and creativity. Alex chose to pursue a career in psychology, inspired by his own experiences with learning disabilities and by the profound difference that understanding and tailored support had made in his life. He wanted to help other students like him, to guide them through challenges that might otherwise seem insurmountable, and to ensure that no child felt as isolated or misunderstood as he once had. In graduate school, he encountered rigorous academic demands, yet the tools he had spent years refining, structured study habits, self-advocacy, and the ability to approach problems creatively, served him well. He excelled not only academically but also in clinical practice, developing empathy and insight that were rare among his peers. Throughout his career, Alex became an advocate for students with learning disabilities, speaking at conferences, writing articles, and mentoring both children and educators. He shared his story openly, emphasizing that disabilities are not deficits but differences that can be accommodated, understood, and even leveraged as strengths. His message resonated widely, inspiring countless families, teachers, and students to rethink the nature of learning and success. Parents of children with learning challenges often approached him with gratitude, noting that his insights and encouragement had made a tangible difference in their children's lives. Beyond his professional achievements, Alex's personal growth was equally profound. He had learned patience, resilience, and empathy in ways that others could not fully understand without walking a similar path. Socially, he had cultivated meaningful friendships, partnerships, and networks of support that enriched his life. The struggles of his youth, which once seemed like heavy burdens, had become the foundation for his wisdom and compassion. He often reflected on the irony of his journey. The very challenges that once made him feel weak had ultimately shaped him into a person of remarkable strength, insight, and purpose. Alex's journey also inspired broader change in educational practices. He collaborated with schools to develop programs that accommodated diverse learning styles, trained teachers to recognize and support students with learning disabilities, and created resources that helped students develop self-advocacy skills. Through these efforts, he helped shift the perception of learning disabilities from limitations to differences, emphasizing that every student has potential that can be nurtured with the right support and understanding. His work left an indelible impact, touching the lives of students and educators far beyond his immediate circle. As the years passed, Alex never forgot the struggles of his early years. He remained deeply aware of how isolation, misunderstanding, and repeated failure could affect a child's sense of self-worth. This awareness drove him to continue advocating, mentoring, and creating opportunities for others. He understood that success was not only measured by personal achievement but also by the ability to lift others, to share knowledge, and to illuminate paths that might otherwise remain hidden. His life became a testament to the idea that adversity, when met with perseverance, creativity, and support, can be transformed into a source of strength, insight, and inspiration. In reflecting upon his journey, Alex often thought back to the small victories that had once seemed so insignificant, reading a paragraph correctly, solving a math problem unaided, or speaking up to request help. Those moments, now distant yet vivid, had set the stage for a life defined by achievement, empathy, and purpose. He realized that the essence of his story was not simply overcoming learning disabilities, but discovering the power of resilience, self-belief, and determination. These qualities had allowed him to transcend limitations, inspire others, and build a life that was meaningful, impactful, and deeply fulfilling. Ultimately, Alex's story is not just his own, it belongs to every student who has ever struggled to be understood, every parent who has ever worried about their child's potential, and every teacher who has sought ways to nurture learning in diverse minds. It is a story of hope, perseverance, and the transformative power of believing in oneself. The boy who once felt trapped by letters, numbers, and doubt had grown into a man whose life exemplified triumph over adversity, a living proof that challenges can become catalysts for growth, strength, and extraordinary achievement.